What's going on, everybody? It's the Variety Film Brothers. I'm Andrew,
I'm Thomas.
and I'm having trouble forming words because we just watched Morbius, and I don't really know how else to put it. If this was like the only movie I'd ever seen in my entire life, I would hate film. I would hate cinema.
Yep.
Look, okay, I'll be honest. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen. But, like, I think this is the least I've ever enjoyed watching a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not really so bad it's good. Like, you can't go into this movie being like, hey, this is a bad movie. Let's have fun.
Yeah.
There's no fun to be had in this movie at all.
They use too much of the effects.
Oh, yeah, the horrible, flying effect. It's just,
yeah.
It's so grating. So terrible. I think for my total score, I think I'm going to have to give this a 14.
Oh, my God.
I've actually thought about this quite a bit. Like, I don't think any of the writers tried. I don't think any of the actors really tried. Like, it's so boring. It's so passionless, and like,
yeah,
you know, like these are things that people say that the Star Wars prequels are, and
that's
like,
not true at all.
like, if you, I can't see. I'm having such a hard time describing this experience. Like I said, the Star Wars prequels, that has been called unenthusiastic before by people, like boring and like effortless and lazy. Like,
wait, do people compare it to Morbius?
Yeah, people.
They compare it to Morbius.
I mean, not directly, but people say a lot of the things about the Star Wars prequels that I'm saying about Morbius, and I think this is the first time I've actually watched a movie and experienced those things. And let me just tell you, this movie, like you said, you should not even compare it to even the Star Wars sequels.
Yeah.
I would rather watch the Star Wars sequels because at least they make me angry. This doesn't make me feel anything until we get to the post-credit scenes.
Yeah.
Those make me angry.
Those.
All right, we usually write down notes when we watch movies. I couldn't do that. I couldn't even express how this movie made me feel because, like, I was trying to think of notes to write down, and it was just like, this shot is bad. This shot is bad. This line is bad. This shot is boring.
Yeah.
And it's like that. I literally, if I actually had written notes, it would have just been that over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But Thomas,
I'm a goat. Yeah.
Seriously,
yeah.
he wrote about a page and a half worth of notes.
It was tough.
None of the characters are interesting in this movie. None of the relationships are interesting. Like, Morbius and Milo, you're supposed to really feel something for their friendship. I don't. I really don't feel like it was this tragedy of Milo's character or that Morbius is, like, a really troubled person. Like, you know, remember the evil kids? Like, See, kids can be very mean. Don't get me wrong.
But they're not going to, like, call you names from the hospital window.
Yeah, they're literally yelling at kids that there's no way they can even see in there.
Yeah.
And, like, telling them to, like, go kill themselves or whatever. And it's like, they're not going to do that.
No.
Like, when I was in school, like, the popular kids were, like, extra nice to, like, the disabled kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because they knew that, like, gets them sympathy points.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the kids who are actually mean to other people do, is they're super nice usually to the disabled kids.
Yeah.
So that when someone actually calls them out on their meanness, they can be like, but I helped Jimmy in his wheelchair across the street. I'm going to heaven. You know, and then they were just beating the crap out of Milo out on the street. And it's like, is this the best you can write? Movie writers? By the way, Milo just... He comes out to be a terrible villain. Like, even when he's, like, an all-out villain, like, you know, you'd think he'd be like, hey, I've been mistreated my whole life. Like, I had the chance to make it right. Or if you, like, obviously do want to keep him as a villain, have him, like, find the exact people who treated him like shit and have him kill those people.
Yeah.
Don't send him on a, like, killing spree. Like, I understand they can't control their powers to a certain degree.
Like, he would kill the bullies first, and then it would go more.
Like, you could bring him from just a revenge story to a, turns out a lot of people are bad, and I think it's up to me to kill those bad people. Like, you could have him slowly go into this descent. Because that's a real thing. That, like, you've seen a lot of...
Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds. There's so many cases on Criminal Minds where the villain... I'll say villain. I guess I should say the troubled...
Protagonist?
No, the antagonist, the bad guy.
Oh.
Well, they'll have a case of like, I think someone else is doing something wrong, and it'll actually start with a revenge story, and then they'll realize other people are doing the same thing and kill them too. Applying real world, like, what's the word, like mental illnesses like that, and or like complexes like that is like such a great way to get people on board with these comic book movies, because like comic book movies for the most part are pretty stupid even when they're good.
Yeah.
So, and like I'll admit that, like that's fine. So like the more things that you can take from the real world to make it more realistic, more grounded, and like come on, that's what this movie is trying to do. It's got blood in it, even though they're way too scared to actually show some. Like,
and the ways that they do show it is stupid.
It's very dumb.
So
Half
dumb.
the time, half of the blood you see in this movie is a cheap blood splatter effect on the camera, and it's terrible.
It's
like
the scenes that they do have blood in are also gross. They are like
yeah, there are tons of scenes in this movie that are just like weirdly gross.
Yeah, there's one scene where Morbius, what's the girl's name?
I don't even know the
I
girl's.
don't know. We
girl.
don't care about the lover, whatever, who dies, and then they go for a kiss, and one of them bites the other one's lip.
I couldn't even really tell which one it was. Like there were a lot of scenes like that in this movie, and you might be thinking, well, Andrew Thomas, you said you wanted it to be more gross, and I'm like, yeah, in a cool way, not a weird way that doesn't make any sense.
We have a dance scene. Why? Are you trying to be like Tobey Maguire?
Yeah.
Are you trying to?
I really think they were trying to rip that off.
You're failing. That was dumb.
Sony, this is why no one's taking your movies seriously. Because you're not taking it seriously. Like, if you made an actual, like, R-rated Venom movie and a Venom sequel that's actually R-rated, people would love that. But no, you keep screwing it up. You don't, I don't know if it's like they don't try or they just don't know what to do, but they're trying to get this Sony-verse set up, and this is the third film in that, and every one of them suck. I don't care if you're all like, oh, but Venom's funny. Sure, if you did a good enough job with that, if I actually thought they made Venom funny, then I'd be like, fine, they made him funny. But, like, who wants to see a funny Venom? Who wants to see a funny Morbius? Like, no one. It's so stupid. Like, we just watched Iron Man 2, and coincidentally, Iron Man 2 is the third movie in the MCU, and this is the third movie in the Sonyverse, I believe. Think about what Iron Man 2 did for the MCU. And it didn't do much. It actually started setting up the Avengers, introduced Black Widow. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
No. I was just going to agree on what you were saying. That,
okay.
Yeah, it actually, like, it ends up turning something to be good. Like, it...
Right, yeah. Like,
it's,
like, continued to the MCU down the path to what it is today.
Yeah.
And...
Morbius is just going straight
It's
down.
just going straight into the toilet. Alright, so I know there's more to this movie, but we're just going to jump straight to the post-credit scenes for a second while we're talking about the future of these universes. Yeah. This movie, the movie itself makes me feel nothing. The post-credit scenes, the credit scenes make me feel nothing but contempt. I've never been so angry at such a short scene.
Yep.
Like, do you want to talk about it? I'm going to let you talk about it for a minute because I need a second.
Alright, so the first credit scene, it has the crack in the sky. Okay, this takes place
during the Doctor Strange spell in the Spider-Man No Way Home movie.
Yeah, that's already stupid. But then later it shows
Adrian Toomes, the Vulture.
Yeah, the Vulture reappears in a cell.
The spell was supposed, or wasn't supposed to, but it ended up bringing people who knew that Peter Parker was Spider-Man from other universes into the MCU.
Yeah.
That's all it did.
Yep.
That's all it did. Nowhere in the spell does it say, by the way, let's throw the Vulture into the Sonyverse.
Yeah.
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Doctor Strange said anything about that.
I don't think he did.
No. I don't think Sonyverse came up. But so the first credit scene, like Thomas said, just has Adrian appear in a cell, a random cell.
Why the hell is he even there?
I think it'd be really funny if he did just appear in a random place and he just saw
got hit by a car.
Like, I mean, that'd be fine too. I'd be totally fine with that. But like, imagine because he is still in prison in the MCU, so I understand he has to be in his prison uniform. But imagine they just had him spawn in a random field or something, and he just looks around. He's like, I got out. Like, I'd still hate it, but at least it'd be funny. And then the second credit scene is what really makes my blood boil.
Yep.
So they're trying to set up the Sinister Six, like the Sonyverse, like Sony's been trying to do for like the last 10 years, and they're not even that cool. I'm sorry. They've literally gotten so low. They've gotten so inept, so lazy, that they're willing to just take pre-established characters from the MCU that have already done well, that have been written better than all of the characters that they have. They are seriously so desperate that they are using whatever excuses they can to just pluck them out of the MCU, won't even rewrite them in their own universe, taking them out, moving them over, and putting them in with no real excuse. Like, I'm not even that mad. I'm just, like, I'm more disappointed in it than anything.
It's funny. I think the Vulture said that, hey, let's kill Spider-Man. And how would that make any sense?
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Somehow he got his suit back, the exact same one from Homecoming, even though he created that one with Chitauri technology that they scavenged? I can't think of words.
Yeah.
From the Battle of New York, which happened in the Avengers, which has... There are no Chitauri in the Sonyverse. There are no Avengers in the Sonyverse.
Nope.
Where is he getting this exact same alien technology? Or even technology somewhat like... You could have at least designed a new suit for him. You kept the same design because you can't do anything. You aren't good at anything, Sony. You made one good animated movie. Spider-Man Into the Multiverse. I can't even think of what it's called right now. You made one good movie. I don't care. Compare that to all the ones you've botched. Just give up. I don't want to see a Sonyverse. No one wants to see a Sonyverse. I don't care.
It's so funny how Sony made such terrible movie off of like characters that they plucked from the MCU. You have to borrow content from the MCU to put it in your movie.
That's terrible. And like, even worse, I think they're trying to weasel their way into the MCU. I think they're trying to be like, hey, you a fan of the MCU? Hey, I got an MCU movie right here. And then bam, it's Morbius. Sorry. We just watched The Incredible Hulk a few movies ago. Yeah. And we complained about that movie to no end. But at least we could break that movie down. We could at least talk about that movie. Yeah. It doesn't make me angry, it just sucks. It's just bad. Yeah. Like, it's fine, the MCU kept going with Iron Man 2. The MCU was fine after that. One bad movie was not enough to kill the MCU, but Sonyverse, 3 consistently bad movies in a row. Like,
what are you guys doing?
I have no hope for you. I don't want to see you succeed in this. I want you to give up. So we wouldn't have talked about this movie if it wasn't recommended to us by one of our subscribers. And we're not mad at you.
We're not.
We just want to know why. No,
listen, honestly, I think he knew, or I think he or she knew that this movie was so goddamn awful that they just wanted to see our reaction to it. And
it's not good. We didn't enjoy it. No, we're not the first people to complain about this movie on the internet.
Or they wanted us to react to it.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen a lot of people say that this movie is just okay, or that it's so bland, and I would say that the movie itself is pretty bland, but bland does not always equal okay. Like, imagine you order, I'll keep it simple, a vanilla ice cream, okay? Like, imagine you take your spoon, you dip your spoon in the vanilla ice cream, and then you eat it, and, it doesn't even taste like bland vanilla ice cream. Imagine it just tastes like nothing.
That's so sad.
That's concerning. That's weird. That means you have COVID. This movie... I diagnosed this movie with COVID.
This movie gives you COVID, guys.
Oh my god.
Your favorite foods? Gone after you watch this movie.
I mean, that's about right. I mean, I could understand it if someone watched this movie and then never enjoyed movies again. We didn't watch this in theaters. We literally just watched it for the first time. And I would be so pissed if I spent money on this. We watched this on Netflix for free. And if I had to spend a cent on this movie, it's bad enough it wasted 2 hours of our life, but if I had to spend a cent watching it, see, the thing is, what's so beautiful about watching bad movies is you can at least learn from them. You can learn what not to do. And you can laugh at them for making mistakes. There's still things you could learn from it, but watching it, you're left with nothing. None of these actors do a good job, and usually we don't blame the actors. Usually I'm like, guys, this was not the actor's fault, And I mean, even in this movie, it wasn't mainly their fault. Most of the bad stuff from this came behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Like, this was, like, put off for, like, 2 years. They kept doing stuff to it. Kept doing it. Like, you know, kept changing things, kept rewriting things. They threw Spider-Man. They threw, it was, like, a graffiti art of Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man to really pull people into this because they wanted people to think that this was in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man universe and that we might get to see him again.
Nope.
And, yeah, no, that was the biggest tease of all time. Just because this was a negative review does not mean that we're not going to accept requests anymore. It just means we're never going to watch Morbius again.
Yeah. And listen, maybe you do like Andrew just reacting to bad movies and seeing him that angry.
I'm not enjoying it.
No, I'm not either.
Maybe you are. Thank you guys so much for watching the video.
Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.
And leave a comment down below to join the discussion.
Peace.
Whoa. Kill me.